Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about the end of the revolution, the end of the French Revolution, why it is that the French Revolution becomes so violent, and the part of the revolution that we tend to call the Reign of Terror. One of the videos from YouTube that I've assigned you for this week puts this really well, this transition in the revolution really well, when it talks about how the French Revolution changes from being a change in the government of France to trying to change the culture and society of France. And so instead of trying to turn this absolutist monarchy into a constitutional monarchy or a democracy, which would have been challenging enough to achieve, instead they start to adopt more of, or the revolutionaries start to adopt more of Rousseau's approach to society. That society, the whole of French society before the revolution, is oppressive and it all has to be destroyed. And this is being driven by a man named Robespierre, who is in control of the government. And so this means that anyone who is in some way associated with the ancient French society, anyone who's associated with the Catholic Church, anyone who's associated with nobles, anyone who seems sympathetic, is an enemy of the French Revolution and needs to be imprisoned or executed or exiled. And this is why the French Revolution suddenly becomes so violent. I mean, it had been kind of violent to start with, but now it's becoming really bloody, where you have about 40,000 people killed in political executions in a year. And this is what we call the Reign of Terror. Eventually, this Reign of Terror becomes so bad that more moderate revolutionaries rebel against Robespierre, and they overthrow him and they institute what's called the Directory. It's a council of 5 people who are governing France. And the Directory is still corrupt, but they're not trying to remake French culture and totally change French society. So they're not carrying out all these executions. So it's a little better. And it's at this time when a young military officer comes to prominence because he helps the Directory put down riots against them. Because French society is still pretty chaotic. Everything's in turmoil at this time. And this young military officer who helps put down riots against the Directory is called Napoleon. And as Napoleon wins more and more victories, both at home and abroad, he becomes more and more popular and eventually is seen as a source of stability to the French people after all this chaos, is seen as someone who can get something done where all these other temporary governments have failed, and he becomes the emperor. And you're thinking, how on earth does this happen? That you go through all this blood and misery and revolution, and you end up with someone being crowned emperor with the Pope there as part of a big mass at Notre Dame Cathedral, and it's a really strange development. And it doesn't stop Napoleon winning more victories, and he establishes this huge French empire across Europe. In the end, he is going to be defeated, first by the Russian winter, and then by the English, first at sea and then on land, and removed from the throne. But again, the question is, what does this mean? What does it mean that you get rid of Louis XVI? And you have sort of a democracy for a while, and then you have Napoleon, and you have an emperor again. Really, it means that Western civilization at this time has rejected the extremes ideas of the Enlightenment, Rousseau's ideas of the Enlightenment, that all of society and culture has to be remade. They don't want that. They want more stability than that. They want less bloodshed than that. But they like some Enlightenment ideas. They like the idea of a social contract. They like the idea of a society without a hierarchy. And so these Enlightenment ideas Napoleon does promote. And as he establishes an empire across Europe, he is going to spread these ideas across Europe. And so we'll see further development of Enlightenment ideas, new efforts to implement Enlightenment ideas, and some resistance to some Enlightenment ideas as we move further into the 19th century.